Thank you for joining us today for this edition of Midday Insights, a webinar series for lunchtime learning. My name is Vernique Williams, and I work for Florida Power and Light Company, serving as a lead economic development project manager. It's a pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar, Mastering Financial Literacy, Reporting and Bookkeeping for Business Success. At FNL, we are committed to empowering entrepreneurs and small business owners, especially within underserved communities, by providing access to tools and resources that foster success. Financial literacy is a cornerstone of entrepreneurial achievement, yet it remains a challenge for many. Today's session is designed to bridge that gap by equipping you with the practical knowledge and skills needed to navigate financial reporting, streamline bookkeeping, and ensure compliance, all essential components for sustainable business growth. Throughout this session, we'll cover foundational topics like understanding financial terminology, creating accurate financial reports, and implementing effective bookkeeping practices. You'll also gain insight into leveraging financial data to make informed decisions and plan for the future. We're so happy to have expert speakers who will share actionable strategies and experiences to help you strengthen your business's financial health. Let's get started and take a significant step towards mastering financial literacy for your business success. Thank you for being here, and I hope you find today's session insightful and impactful.
Thank you, Vernique, for that warm welcome. And thank you all for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn, Mastering Financial Literacy, Reporting and Bookkeeping for Businesses, brought to you by the Florida Association of Black Chambers of Commerce. This Lunch and Learn is sponsored by Florida Power and Light, Be Powerful educational series. It's cultivated to unlock the full potential of Black-owned businesses, propel them forward, and go to unprecedented heights of success. If you have any questions for today's Lunch and Learn, please feel free to drop them and send them our way on whatever platform you're viewing on. We are live on X, IG, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And without further ado, today joining us is tax accountant Jennifer Metellus with Beyond Tax and Accounting, and CEO of Credit 360, Andre Coakley. Welcome to the show.
Hey, good morning.
Thank you for having us. Good morning.
Good afternoon. It's afternoon, Jennifer. You threw me for a second. I was like, wait a minute. No. Yes. We're so happy for you to be here to provide all of the information for our viewers, because as we know, in today's competitive business landscape, financial literacy is prominent. Let's start today's show out by talking a little bit about how you both got into this industry. Jennifer, we'll start with you.
Awesome. My background originally come from, I worked in higher education as a director for over 8 years. While working in higher education, I had the ability to pursue my master's degree, my graduate degree in business and accounting. I have always been a math, whiz. Math was always my strong suit. So I decided, and of course, my aspirations of being a CEO of a big corporation one day is what drew me to doing business and accounting. When I got into the business program, I learned that accounting was my specialty. So I specialize in accounting. I did not know I would be a CEO of my own company. I thought I would always be a CEO or a CFO for someone else. So fast forward, I had the opportunity to start a business 12 years ago, not knowing what I was getting myself into. But here I am 12 years later, helping small business owners as well as individuals with getting financial literacy, with getting their finances in order. We've also helped people with understanding tax planning, tax strategies, and even also helping people with tax resolution. So it didn't start off in accounting. It kind of fell into accounting. I started off in higher education, and here I am today.
Thank you, Jennifer. Andre.
Yeah, great. So when I graduated from college, my first job was working as a mortgage processor at my father's mortgage company. During that time, I got to see W-2s, pay stubs, tax returns, all these items that actually would put together a underwriting file for a mortgage process. And during that time, I was a little bit interested on how certain individuals were qualifying based off of their tax returns and based off of their income statements, and how certain individuals weren't. And it's crazy because I was looking at some of the income that was coming out into the business, but not looking at the expenditures. Like, how does this business make $1 million a month, but they can't actually qualify for the type of funding or loans that they get? And we kind of realized that, the documentation of bookkeeping was a very big piece of that puzzle. My background is really credit. I help position businesses and individuals to leverage, I like to say, their financial mishaps into financial success, because a lot of times it takes a mishap in order for you to get in front of that professional to be able to actually kind of get through that mishap that you're going through. And I would just like to say that owning a business in today's time and being an entrepreneur is like learning how to build an airplane and learning how to fly at the same time,
At the same
right?
time.
And it's been dropped out of the heavens. So we want to make sure that you're doing everything you can to kind of position yourself as an individual, but also as a brand as well.
Nice. It is a juggling act for small business owners. Learning from the fly is definitely one of the strong points that every small business owner must have. So this has been floating around the internet, and I'm not sure if either of you are able to speak to it. If you are, then great. If not, we'll figure it out. But there is a deadline of December the 31st for small businesses to register their business, a beneficial ownership information. Can either of you speak to that? I know that wasn't on topic, but to me, I feel like I'm here with two experts, and I just wanted to see if you knew anything about that.
So yes, the beneficial ownership information form is required for all businesses that was started prior to 2024. You have until December 31st, 2024 to get that in. If not, you would be fined $500 a day for not completing that form. It is very important for people to, because I know we've been getting a lot of inquiries. Is this scam? Is this real? Do I have to do this?
Right. That's the thing, because you're like, wait a minute, this is something new. I don't know what to believe. They're talking about it on the internet, but is it real? Jennifer, is it real? Yes.
It is real. It's part of the Corporate Transparency Act. Now, what you are going to find, there are companies that are charging astronomical amount of money to get it done. I tell clients, we guide them, we tell them, hey, go to the website. This is the official website that you need to go and complete it. If you absolutely are not comfortable with doing it yourself, then yes, you can pay us a service to get it done. But it is something that I personally feel like a business owner can get done on their own without having to pay a large sum of money to get it done. So we tell our clients to do it on their own. If they're not comfortable, then they can pay us to kind of do that. We just don't want, for legality reasons, we're trying to refrain from having to do it, especially when it comes to, our E&O insurance and things like that.
Understood. So we're here also to talk about, of course, financial literacy. And what does that mean? Either of you, just tell us, what does financial literacy mean?
Financial literacy means the conversations that we aren't having at the dinner table in today's time. Unfortunately, because of our economic backgrounds coming from, I'm going to say, African-American descent, a lot of times the conversation of financial literacy it's kind of taboo. We kind of steer away from it because a lot of times we haven't mastered these areas as adults. So therefore, we're not even having these conversations with our children. Unfortunately, financial literacy is one of these things that it's imperative, regardless to your walk of life. If you're going to be the president of the business, or you're going to be the janitor of the business, unfortunately, you still have to understand financial literacy in your own scope from a personal standpoint, and then that also leads into a business standpoint as well.
Did you have something to add, Jennifer?
Yes. Financial literacy is the foundation of everything, whether you're a business owner or not. Financial literacy is your ability to understand, all of the financial skills that's going to help you when it comes to budgeting, when it comes to investing, when it comes to saving, and even when it comes to managing your debt. Without having that foundation, that foundational knowledge of what financial literacy, it's a recipe for a disaster. So it's people think, oh, I'm not trying to own a business, so I don't really need that. No, you needed to understand how credit works, how, what's good debt versus bad debt. Not all debt is bad. So it's very important. And to Andre's point, yes, coming from our economical background, I wish I knew today I wish I knew back then what I know today when it comes to financial literacy. I'll probably be a millionaire by now.
What are some common misconceptions that not just entrepreneurs or small business owners, just people in general have about financial literacy?
Go ahead, Andre.
I'm sorry. I'll pretty much say that because I'm African American, I can't hit certain benchmarks or certain heights in my business. Oh, I'm African American, I can't have an 850 credit score. No, please get that out. We got to get these taboos out of our mind. We have to realize that we can do anything that anybody else can do. We just have to position ourselves, all right? And from that standpoint, I think that's where a lot of the misconceptions come in. You're either ill-informed, uninformed, or misinformed. All right. So ideally, we want you to kind of get the information. You have to digest it, what's best for you, and actually implement that into your business as best as possible.
Jennifer?
To add to that, I think is also, from an entrepreneur standpoint, it's understanding bookkeeping, understanding what financial statements are, understanding how cash flow works, budgeting, forecasting, to help entrepreneurs make better informed financial decisions. I have great relationships with a lot of banks because so many people come in there and say, hey, prime example, we just had one 2 days ago. Bank of America referred him to me. He doesn't have the basics of a financial statement, and he's looking to acquire some funding. And he doesn't even have the basics. And he's been running this successful business, but unfortunately, it's not structured in a way for him to get the funding that he needs. Unfortunately, TikTok, social media sometimes sends out misconceptions, right? Don't have to pay taxes and you can report a loss and you won't have to pay the IRS. But what happens when you walk into the bank and say, I need money? Well, that loss is not going to get you any money. So, people try to escape from having to pay Uncle Sam and not having to pay these, but then those things they're detrimental to your financial success, because now you're showing the bank, I don't have a profitable business, but I want you to lend me $50,000.
So
I'm sorry, just to add to that. And we also saw that a lot during the pandemic. We saw a lot of businesses that had great business models, but they just weren't documented correctly in order to be able to get the funds for sustainability. So, and who would have known we would have had a pandemic? Who would have known because you didn't file that tax return the year before, or you didn't actually file your business, that you would have been in that position? So we want to kind of prepare ourselves as much as possible.
So you both touched on this, these documents, these components for accurate financial reporting. What are the key components?
You can go ahead. Okay. The key components to these documents, you have to have a profit and loss statement. How do I break down what a profit and loss statement is? That is your financial report card, right? It helps you understand how well your business is doing and how not so well your business is doing, right? And it also is important to understanding you can't properly budget or you can't properly make financial decisions if you don't have this statement to show you we're making good money, but we're also losing money. We're spending too much in marketing. We're spending too much on rent. We're spending too much on payroll. That is your financial report card. Without that, you're running your business very blindly. The second financial statement that's important is your balance sheet. that helps to show how liquid your business is. What I mean by that, how much assets does the company have? How much liability does the company have? These two documents are what investors and bankers, right? Even Andre, when they're looking to get business funding for clients, these are documents. Do you have too much credit already? Or does your business have too much liability? Does your business have not enough liability to make informed decisions? These are two documents that anytime you're going for funding, they're going to request from you outside of tax returns.
Agree.
Andre, did you have any other documents you wanted to add?
I think she covered the only thing I would probably add would be like a cash flow statement, which just outlines the ins and outs. It's pretty much, similar to, profit and loss. However, these are going to be the statements that's needed. And a lot of times I try to position businesses, you need to be building a business thinking about an exit strategy. What is the exit strategy? Are you planning to actually run this business for the rest of your life? Or are you positioning this business to sell it on the open market? Which what we realize is that we see other ethnicities take advantage of building businesses and selling them. We want to position ourselves as much as possible as well.
So with those key components, the financials, the cash flow, P&L, balance, how often should someone like me be looking at those? Because I'm going to be honest with you. The only time that I'm really digging into it is at the end of the year. And that's because I'm getting ready to turn it over to my accountant and tell him, hey, I do what you do. I need to file my taxes. As a business owner, shouldn't I be looking at those a lot more frequently than once a year?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if you need to make cuts, and I'm sorry, I kind of just jumped in there. Sorry, Andre.
No, you're good.
If you need to
and look, Jennifer, you didn't just jump in there. I threw myself out there. I'm like, look, I'm gonna use myself as I'm gonna be the sheep, the lamb. I'll be the sacred lamb, because I know I'm speaking for a lot of businesses out there who just don't. But yes, Jennifer, I know I'm not doing the right thing. Tell us why.
Well, it's important as a business owner for you to understand or look at your numbers more frequently. Even if you're not doing it monthly, we strongly encourage to look at it at least quarterly. And usually it's all dependent on the industry and the size of your business, right? I have some clients, where we're doing their books on a weekly basis. We have some we do it on a daily basis because of the volume, right? Because of the type of business it is. But as a business owner, you should at least be looking at it on a quarterly basis. If you need to make adjustments, if you need to shift, right? Or if you're budgeting, right? How are you going to do that if you're waiting to the end of the year to plan for the following year? Another thing, we look at fourth quarter. Well, at the end of third quarter, we're looking at everyone's finances, right? And I get on my business owners. I said, hey, I need these reports, because if we need to make certain adjustments for fourth quarter, I can't wait until December to tell you to make those adjustments for fourth quarter. For example, you may be looking at a high tax liability, right? But what if I can tell you in October, hey, I'm going to need you to beef up your payroll for yourself for the fourth quarter to reduce that tax liability? Why not put it back in your pocket instead of giving it to Uncle Sam, right?
And all of this is legal. You're not telling anybody to do something that's not correct. This is how you understand tax laws, ways of doing business, and how to just remain successful. Andre, I'm sorry. It looked like you were going to say something.
No, I would agree. From an accounting standpoint, it comes from a daily accounting practice, a weekly accounting practice, a monthly accounting practice, a quarterly accounting practice, and then a yearly accounting practice, right? Because all those things tell you about your business at different phases. And the more you can look at each phase, you can adjust accordingly. But if you're just looking at it quarterly, if you're just looking at, and again, to Jennifer's point, business size does make a role, right? Does play a role. You do have to kind of understand where you are, regardless to where you are in business. But the more expansive the business, the more finite you have to be with the detailing of actually kind of looking at those key performance indicators from an accounting standpoint.
Jennifer, I cut you off. Did you have anything else to add? If not, I'm gonna move to the next.
Yeah, one thing I wanted to add, because I know I said payroll, but one of the other things, for example, my photography businesses, right? Sometimes we have to tell them, hey, you need to go buy some equipment, before the year ends. You need to go buy some equipment that you've been wanting, right? To kind of help offset that. And again, to your point, Jessica, these are legal strategies that we can tell you. But if we're only looking at your numbers one time a year, we can't help you with those strategies, right? So at the end of the day, it's about helping your business grow and also your succession planning, your exit strategy. No one wants to work for the rest of their life. I don't care who you are. No one wants to work for the rest of their lives, right? So those things are very, very important.
So that was one excellent point in having a best practice, if you must say, for your financial success for business owners. What are some other best practices to help business owners to maintain organization, as well as to ensure that they have accurate bookkeeping?
Well, I would say number one, I'll kind of touch it. And like bookkeeping is not like my source. However, I will say understanding if you have a manual bookkeeping process versus an electronic or a system bookkeeping process. I understand a lot of businesses starting off, we don't have the knowledge to actually use a system-based process. However, it can be a lot easier starting off the right way versus trying to merge in the middle of the building of your business. So I'll tell a lot of business owners up front, try to get, acquainted with different softwares that are available that's out there that can help you document. And documentation is a lot easier in today's time with apps. All you got to do is take a picture of the receipt. It can actually categorize it. It can do everything for you. It's no like big file cabinet where you used to walk around with your trash bag full of receipts. Like, no, it's a little bit more easy to document these things, and you should take advantage of these softwares that's available.
So to piggyback off Andre, yes. It is a lot easier to start it off, and it's a lot cheaper to start it off from the beginning than to try to find someone in the midst of the mess to say, hey, I need help. Businesses that I have helped from the very beginning have seen huge success. We've been able to get their company structured properly, get their bookkeeping set up properly, get their retirement planning set up properly, their payroll set up properly, and are seeing huge success. Even if there has been times where we had to make adjustments, but because they started from the beginning, they've seen a greater success than someone who's kind of, coming in with the chaos. And I like to tell my team, we specialize in chaos, right? I don't know why, but we do. We don't try to, but that's how the cookie crumbles. But what ends up happening is if you do not have an internal person that can manage the books, you need to hire one. To Andre's point, when you're first starting off a business, your financial resources may be limited. So you may not be able to afford an accountant or a full-out bookkeeper to manage your books. Then you need to invest in getting the proper training so that you can manage it or have someone on your team, right, to manage it for you. It's better to do it that way than to not have anything in place. To Andre's point again, back in the pandemic, because people were doing it their way and couldn't afford to pay, they were having to pay a lot more money to get someone to clean their books just so that they can take advantage of COVID resources.
And you didn't mention this, and I'm not necessarily asking you to endorse a product, endorse a software or tool, but I would like to know what are some of the tools or software products that you've seen business owners use that is worth looking into?
QuickBooks, Wave, Xero, Zoho, FreshBooks. I mean, Excel spreadsheets, something.
Track record, right?
Yeah.
And it can be done.
Right. Your credit card processor.
Unless you have a software. If you can properly document in an Excel spreadsheet, that'll work. It'll work. However, do you have the time to do it? Can you build your business and be your business accountant at the same time?
That is absolutely correct. And we find that they will start off with it and say, I'm going to do it myself. And along the way, we'll call and say, I need help. Mm-hmm. And then now what you would have paid from starting it for the beginning is now significantly more because we have to clean up the mess, right? I can give you a live example right now. I have a guy who he's having to pay for a cleanup because he went in there and tried to do it himself. And guess what? He linked all of his personal credit cards to his QuickBooks.
Wow.
And he said, well, but I'm using it for the business, but it's not a company asset. We can record the expenses that were paid from it, but you do not link that personal credit card to your business QuickBooks.
Mm-hmm. Just simple things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Yeah.
And sometimes you have to be able, I don't know if you guys, and this is kind of on topic, but slightly off the topic. I don't know if you guys heard about the Macy's employee who was able to conceal up to $154 million, and the business didn't know about it. The brand didn't know about it until 2 years later.
Macy's?
And this actually took place like the Macy's in that, yes, $200 million. Well, $154 million. All right. Again, you have to have people who are watching people sometimes. Mm-hmm. It's sad to say. And again, we're not a brand like Macy's, but every now and then you have to kind of fact check the person who you're fact checking, you know? And I just try to say, position yourselves as much as possible to every now and then have somebody else look at your books, because I can't tell you how many times, oh, I've been using this person for 10 years. Well, that's 10 years of them having this same accounting practice that's not benefiting you when it's time for you to get access to funding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So it's okay to have somebody just double check every now and then to see if there's any other type of, strategies that can take place that can benefit you, because sometimes we get tunnel vision.
Yes.
Right. We just kind of get locked in and kind of, hey, this is how it's been. This is how it goes. So we want to kind of be as flexible as possible.
That's good, Andre. I'm sorry, Jennifer. Go ahead.
As business owners, I want to add to Andre's point. As business owners, we wear so many hats, right? We cannot be everywhere at one time as much as we try, right? But unfortunately, if we can clone ourselves, it'll be easier, right? I have a client. He ended up having to fire the entire staff. I did a QuickBooks training for his staff because they use QuickBooks as their POS system on a daily basis. It's a retail store. One of the employees verbatimly said to me, merchandise can walk out the store and the owner would never know. If you have an employee that can boldly say that,
it's walking out.
It's walking out.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough checks and balance going on, and the company does very well. Simple things like keying in merchandise, invoices and making sure the payment is recorded on the day that the payment existed, they were not doing. Mm. So that leads me to believe, if it was a cash payment, where was the money going?
Yeah.
We have fraud. We uncovered because. So as an accountant, right, part of our bookkeeping, we tend to study patterns of the client's accounts. And the same client, I noticed checks were coming out of his account in large sums. My client does not write those checks in those type of amounts, and not at one time at least. So I called him one day. I said, hey, did you write a check for $30,000? He said, no. I said, there's a payment for $30,000. There's a payment for $15,000 that came out. We uncovered it was fraud. But to me, it was an inside job because it was his company check with a different signature. Mm-hmm. Someone got a hold of his checkbook. And it could have been an employee that he fired. But nonetheless, we had to get rid of the entire team, right? And he had to start brand new. And it also required him as the owner to kind of step foot as a salesperson until he was able to fill those gaps with new salespeople. This is what, to Andre's point, checks and balances. If you don't have someone fact checking what's going on, I mean, I can't even imagine what was walking out the door before we acquired him as a client. The prior accountant had passed away, and the prior accountant had told him, hey, you need to find someone else. I think the accountant knew he was ill and he was, going, his time was expiring. So I acquired him about 5 or 6 years ago. And we were able to uncover, we had to do so much cleaning up, but it has cost him thousands of dollars to get it cleaned up because there's no checks and balances in place.
We do hear about these stories, but it's more someone in the entertainment business, and they had a manager who was over their finances, and now they've had to file for bankruptcy. So, Andre, that was a really, really good point that you raised, just to check the person who you have that's checking. It's very important. So that leads us to compliance. What are some of the most common financial reporting compliance issues that businesses may face?
Failure to adhere to accounting standards. Meals and entertainment, right, Andre?
Yes, exactly.
Everyone wants to deduct meals and entertainment and say, yeah, my meals are deductible, right? What's another one? The vehicle. The cell phone. If you have an office phone and you have a cell phone, you cannot deduct both. If you have a set office phone, it's the telephone expense. Now, if the cell phone is in the company name, that's a different story. But people like to say, well, I have my personal cell phone and deduct the entire amount in addition to the office phone, right? Depreciation. Right? I think, was it a year or two ago where TikTok told everybody to go get a G-Wagon and depreciate it?
Depreciate.
Like, what? Depreciate it. You can write off the whole $100,000 and but then we run into these challenges of now you need funding and you just written off $100,000. And now you're in the negative, right? Understanding what's legitimate and what's not legitimate, what's going to raise red flags, right?
Isn't that true? Can't you write off your vehicle even when you're still paying it?
Yes, you can write off a vehicle, but people were just going to buy vehicles for their personal use and putting it in the company. Which is like, if the vehicle is 40% company use, 60% personal use, your depreciation percentage should be 40, not 100%. So people would go and I mean, they're buying cars in a company name and the car has nothing to do with the company, but because they want to write it off and reap the tax benefit, right? Business owners fail to understand, if you transfer $1,000 to yourself, that's not payroll. That's a distribution depending on how you're structured. Payroll is where you're actually having taxes come out. You're actually giving yourself a W-2 in the end of the year. A lot of misconceptions. Yeah, I transferred $5,000 to myself. Isn't that my payroll? Well, did you pay taxes on it? No. Well, then that's not payroll. That's a distribution, which may or may not be taxable depending on your shareholder basis, right? People have misconceptions. Yeah, just change your LLC to S Corp. You won't pay self-employment tax. Yes, but if you're an officer employee, you have to pay yourself what the IRS calls a reasonable salary. And that reasonable salary is based on what the business generates in revenue. Andre, you want to add?
I'm going to piggyback on this social media. I like to say social media is Satan's scribe for confusion, right? And I hate to be so blunt about it, but unfortunately, it causes so much confusion in the real world. Mm-hmm. We are listening to an influencer whose job is to sell you a product or a service that he or she probably doesn't provide in order to kind of get you to actually take action right now. Unfortunately, we're listening to these things, which are fallacies. And we're sitting in front of Jennifer and we're sitting in front of Andre and we're saying, this is what I want to do. And we're saying, well, no, it doesn't work that way. And you're looking at us like we're the fool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't have your best interest at heart because I don't want you to be a fraudster or a scammer. It doesn't work that way. It's not as easy as they portray it. Their job is to give you the path of least entry in order to make you feel as if you can easily walk through this process to sell you a product or service. And if they were great at what they were doing, they would not be on TikTok every day selling you what they're trying to sell you. So let's just be mindful of that.
Don't make me shout, Andre. Don't make me shout.
Oh, no.
Don't make me shout. Yes, 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 and yes. Like I cannot tell you how many times I get these Instagram links to go watch a video of someone telling them they can go do something in the. Now, what I can appreciate are people asking me, "Is this true? Can I really do this?" Right? I can appreciate that part. But to Andre's point, yes, they come to you and they're looking at you like you don't know what you're talking about, or you're not trying to look out for me until they get the IRS letter and say, I need your help.
Begging, crying.
Yes, I'm on the phone with the IRS on a daily basis, clearing up different tax issues from people that I didn't even originally do their tax return. I'm in different groups on Facebook, answering questions, right? Chiming in, giving people advice on what you can and cannot. Oh, I have this client that said this, this, and that. And now you're going to pay twice the money because now I got to spend time on the phone with the IRS to represent you. And that's time on our hands. And you're certainly not going to be on the phone because usually the whole time is about an hour or 2 hours, depending on the time of year.
Then they say, well, Jennifer's good, but she costs too much. No, you caused this price margin.
Correct. Correct.
Right? It had nothing to do with me. I got to put more work into this, but no, I don't charge too much. No, you were too lax in building this business and brand up front. And now it's costing you. That cost was built during that process that you didn't pay it. That was being lump sum to you. So it's rough. It's rough, but we get it. We know you are trying to build an airplane and learn how to fly it at the same time because it's an individual process, but it's also, you have to have the skill set as the pilot to be able to navigate this vessel. However, this vessel itself has to have the integrity to actually be able to actually get this pilot to perform what he knows how to do. Either one of them not having what it needs to take place, we got a crash and burn situation here. So please, it's an individual learning standpoint, but it's also a learning standpoint from the brand as well.
And how do you recommend, or what do you recommend to those business owners who need to stay updated with the latest regulations and compliance standards?
Well, I don't think the average client is going to be following IRS tax code.
Correct.
But that's what is going to be the standard. That's the Holy Grail. That's the Bible, right? So unfortunately, just like in biblical terms, a lot of us don't crack open that book, but we'll go listen to somebody speak about what's in that book, right? Same exact same standpoint. So I would say, get in front of people who might understand and can kind of help you navigate through it versus you being able to possibly read it on your own. But there's a lot of information out there. You can go to the state. The state puts information about how they're changing on their particular aspect. The federal puts information out there. So you just have to kind of do your due diligence if you're looking into it. But most individuals are going to try to find a professional to help them navigate through this because half the time you're reading tax code, but you don't even know what you're reading.
Right. But is there like a magazine or a website that you can refer people to?
IRS.gov.
No,
IRS.gov.
Jennifer, we're trying to get the business owners something that is written in a way that could be dumbed down. Let me just say it like that. Information that's dumbed down to say, hey, these are some things that are going on that you probably would need to speak with your bookkeeper about or your accountant about if you are a small business owner. If you can't recommend anything, then that's fine. But it just seems like there should be some place or writer or journalist that's alerting people to things that they need to bring into practice within their business. Maybe that's something that one of you can do.
I would recommend that you find somebody who's in the same line of business that you're in, who might be at a level above you, and try to make amends with them to say, hey, can I buy you lunch? Can I take you out can I take you out to dinner? Can I buy you coffee? Just to kind of get an understanding of where you're going. I like to say we need to think forward and build backwards.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times with business owners, we're thinking as we're building, right? We don't even know. It's like we just let me go wherever the tide takes me. If the wind current's going east, I'll go east today. If it's going west, I'll go west. Ideally, we have to kind of find people who have already achieved what we're trying to achieve, and we need to try to mimic the trail that they've already blazed.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So a lot of times you can get mentorship from businesses who are in the same scope, who are in alignment. But sometimes that's difficult because sometimes the mentee can be looked at as a competitor to the mentor, right? So you have to kind of wean yourself into the situation. And that's the reason why I led it with buy them coffee, take them out to dinner. You build a rapport and a relationship with this person so they can realize that you're not a threat to them.
So, yes, Jennifer, go ahead.
I encourage, to Andre's point, right? That's acquiring mentorship is great, right? But we all know those mentorships require, a financial investment. If someone doesn't necessarily have the means to invest in a mentorship program, I encourage them to go join professional Facebook groups, right? And it could be a Facebook group, like if you're a photographer, join a photography Facebook group where people are asking questions. And but there's also accounting groups for business owners, right? Where you have questions that you're throwing out there, and you're getting a professional to respond to you and ask you to answer those questions of things that you may not know. But I definitely like what Andre's saying, finding someone who has already achieved a certain level of success that you can kind of learn from and ask questions. But sometimes, everyone wants to make a dollar, right? So those mentorships cost. I've invested in a mentorship for myself, and it cost me a nice piece of change. But in order for me to get to the level I needed to go, I needed to make that investment to get there.
Yeah, and I like to say every coach has a coach.
Right.
Every coach has a coach, especially if you're spiritual, right? It goes even beyond, right? So every coach has a coach. So we have to kind of keep that in mind of saying, I'm never too comfortable for growth, right? I'm never at a spot where I say, well, I can't take it to the next level. No, you find somebody who has possibly taken it to a level beyond where you're at with success. And again, we want to try to mimic or try to actually see what, and again, you can learn, I say you can learn from a scholar just as much as you can learn from a crackhead, right? From a crackhead, you can learn what not to do, right? From the scholar, you can learn what to do, but you got to have both perspectives. You got to have both perspectives. You need to be able to size it up. All right. So,
what do you all deem would be a red flag, like a financial indicator to say, I need to switch some things up?
Normally the business is going to tell you that. There's going to be symptoms within the business that's telling you that you have a void from some type of accounting practice. Whether you're trying to get access to funds, whether you're trying to sell your business, whether you're trying to get access to credit, whatever it may be, unfortunately, the business is going to tell you, I'm not developed enough to be able to kind of get to where your mindset is. And that's where the average person starts coming from. They start getting help from a consultant, a coach, an accountant, and trying to kind of figure it out from that standpoint.
Andre, as it relates to credit, I know that you mentioned this earlier. What are some of the things that business owners need to try to make sure that they're getting that back office of their accounting correct in order to be able to qualify?
Understanding profit versus revenue, right? Understanding, the cash flow. These are the beyond credit. These are what banks and lenders are looking for. Three things when you're going in there. They're looking at assets, they're looking at credit, and then they're looking at pretty much cash flow, income, right? You having a void in any one of those areas affects the overall perspective of what you're possibly going to get. right? So ideally, you're trying to be as wholesome as possible. You're trying to actually be able to be predictable. What your accounting practices in your brand allows predictability, right, to lenders and actually creditors of kind of understanding what scope you go through. And the reason why it's so important, because businesses go through seasons, right? I know I have seasons. Tax season aligns great with my business model. But right now, during the holidays, the average client ain't thinking about trying to repair their credit. They're running up their credit right now, right? So, like, this is where they're creating the need to call me. And then guess what? Boom. New Year's happens. New Year's resolution. I'm tired of this debt. New year, new me. And what are they doing? They calling me on January 1st. Man, I need to get this debt up off me, man. So at the end of the day, you have to understand your seasons. And that's what accounting does. I was in my business for 5 years and didn't understand seasons. So during tax season, I was making great money. I'm thinking, whoa, I'm going to keep doing this year round. Then I realized, whoa, September, those numbers kind of start falling off. And people don't answer the phone when I call them for some reason to try to collect, right? Because it's holiday season. And at the end of the day, the mindset and morale changes during these seasons in my brand, in my business as well.
Mm-hmm. Andre and Jennifer, can you both give us a success story for business owners? One of your clients that you're just pretty proud of.
One of my clients recently crossed the $1 million mark, gross, that is. However, it's a huge success because she started in her father's kitchen. It's a huge success because when the naysayers was like, you're making products, like, what are you doing? You making skin products? To now owning 3 warehouses and now working on manufacturing her products to go inside of some of the big name stores, right? To me, that's a huge success. In fact, the same client was the one who was like, you need to go start a YouTube channel. You have so much knowledge and you know so much. And I was like, me behind the camera? I think not. I'm good right here. And she's like, no. So there's actually a YouTube, quite a few people said they've seen it, where she recorded us doing, we were actually discussing her numbers and her own situation. And she was like, I'm going to post this. And funny enough, that one video, that right after that video, I ended up getting 10 clients from that video.
Wow.
But nonetheless, she started in her father's kitchen to now grossing over $1 million, having 3 warehouses. And she listened. She followed like the blueprint. Don't do this, don't do that. She's paying herself. She got her kids on payroll. She got her father on payroll who's retired. But it was it's a big deal because she started in the farmer's market. She went from dad's kitchen to the farmer's market to now having warehouses. Wow. And I'm like, man, and just now she was originally in Florida, just expanded to Georgia. So I'm excited to see, what's in store for her. But she followed, she listened. And even when even in the toughest time, she's like, I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up. So when she hit that $1 million mark, it was huge. And it makes me proud, right? Because she was one that started with me from the beginning, right? We didn't have to do cleanup work and stuff like that. We started QuickBooks from the very beginning, set up her chart of accounts. Okay, you can't continue to pay people on 1099. These are your employees, so they need to be W-2s. So I'm really proud of her. And I'm proud as well. I love those success stories when business owners are doing extremely well, thriving. We have these important business meetings to talk about their numbers and what 2025, 26 is going to look like, and taking it from there.
Nice. Andre?
Similar stories. A lot of my greatest accomplishments comes from getting individuals into homeownership, because homeownership a lot of times can be that seed money for entrepreneurship, right? I know I am an entrepreneur now because I was a homeowner. When I graduated from college, I was working as a mortgage processor. I bought my first house at the age of 25. At In 3 years, it went up $100,000 in equity. I took an equity line of credit out to buy a jet ski and a motorcycle, but I used that money to invest in Credit 360. The business has been in existence for 18 years. To this day, I don't own a jet ski. I don't own a motorcycle, but I can say that I'm not a millionaire, but I have accumulated millions of dollars over that additional investment over that 18-year period. So at the end of the day, we need to kind of look at ourselves internally from a personal standpoint and realize this can be the seed money to actually create generational wealth and also create entrepreneurship.
Nice. Now, we talked about resources. You all wanted people to go to the government website for the resources to become literate. We talked about the tools, but what we did not talk about is how do they become, or how do they seek out to be better? We know the tools, but is having a better financial literacy for your business, does that rest in the fact that you are hiring an accountant or a bookkeeper?
If you are not equipped to do it yourself, then yes, you need to hire someone that knows how to do it. These successful corporations, these big corporations, the CEO doesn't know everything. But what he knows how to do is hire the people that knows how to do those things that he needs them to do, he or she needs them to do. And that's what it boils down. You may not know how to do X, Y, and Z, but hopefully you know how to hire someone who can teach you and show you how to do X, Y, and Z. You don't need to know everything about everything. You just need to have the right people in place to help you know everything about everything. Mm-hmm. And that's what it boils down to. Too many companies are falling apart because they don't have the right systems or team in place or staff in place to help them get to the next level. It's all an investment. If you want to be the number one restaurant, you got to have great servers. You got to have great cooks in the kitchen. You understand? Like, the recipes are great, but without those other components, you're not going to have a great restaurant. Mm-hmm. If you don't have a good hostess, good waitresses, good bartenders, good cooks in the back, and they have to understand the vision. It's very challenging to achieve your vision if you don't have the right people in place who understand your vision and are committed to helping you get that vision.
Mm-hmm. Right. Andre, did you have any?
No, I totally agree with Jennifer. She's pretty much, you got to think forward and build backwards.
So in closing, is there any advice that either of you would like to give to our listeners? In addition to that, if you all can tell them how to reach you, and if you are on social media, what platform? So we're looking for your closing thoughts and contact information.
Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yes, I am on all platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. Our website is www.beyondtaxandaccounting.com. I can be reached also. Our office number is 954-727-1770. We are on all platforms, Beyond Tax and Accounting, as well. And I'm open to doing any consultations with people. Right now, we are offering a free 15-minute consultation, but the hour, there's obviously a charge for the hour.
And any closing thoughts? Or recommendations?
Recommendations. Get it together now so that it don't cost you more later, right? There's 3 people that you need on your team. You need a credit person, you need an accountant, and you need an attorney. I don't care what business you have. You need those 3 to help you get to the next level.
Okay, Andre?
I'm on all social media platforms as well. Andre Coakley, of course, is my name. The business is Credit 360. You can find us as well on social media platforms. The website is www.credit360.biz. And the office phone number is 305-235-4848. And I would leave with the closing thought of building a business. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. right? And it's about sustainability, right? You have to kind of find ways to be sustainable in your business, which means you got to be moderate at everything that you do, but also have understanding. So do whatever you can to actually run this race well. Provide yourself with the right mindset and the right tools. You need the right tennis shoes for this race, what I'm trying to tell you as well, right? All right. So do what you can. And I'm Andre Coakley, and I can help you guys however you need be with a free consultation as well.
Well, thank you, Andre. Thank you, Jennifer. And thank you all for joining us for this enlightening webinar. Be part of Be Powerful's Powering Florida's Black-owned business educational programming series. We hope you found everything to be valuable. If you would like to explore more, you may go to Hip Rockstar's YouTube page, where we have every webinar that we have recorded housed there under our business resources section. Once again, thank you for being here, and we look forward to our next in-person event or a webinar. We'll see you again. Have a great one.